Hey, what's going on, guys? June here with Hapa英会話, and joining me today is Kelly from CafeTalk. Hey, Kelly, how you doing
Hey,
today?
hey, good. How are you, June?
Doing well, doing well. So, today I want to talk about this question.
Mhm.
Why did you come to Japan? Now,
Yeah,
Kelly, you lived in Japan, right?
I did. I always forget which side, but I studied abroad for a year in Osaka first. So my first like real life Japanese exposure was Kansai Ben. And then I lived in Fukuoka for 3 years.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
So living in Japan, I'm sure, when you start meeting Japanese people, they want to know why you are in Japan, right? So
Sure.
I think naturally from, when you directly translate it from Japanese to English, なんで日本に来たんですか would directly translate to why did you come to Japan? So
Hmm.
I want to talk about this question here today. Why did you come to Japan? Right now, when you look on the internet, この質問の仕方はとても失礼だ. Why did you を使うのはとてもダイレクトだ. So I just want to kind of give, our viewers today what, as Americans, how we feel about using the word why, how to use it, when to use it, and if there are any alternative expressions. So
Sure.
Kelly, what is it like, when somebody says, why did you come to Japan? Like, how does that make you feel? どう感じる?
I think the biggest point here is tone of voice is really
うん。
important, right? So if someone is, very light and casual, like, oh, why did you come to Japan? If it's part of a conversation, if it's maybe the fourth or fifth question in, that's very different than why did you come to
う
Japan,
ん。
right? Or why are you even here? It sounds a little on the surface if I just look at the words. So, for example, they always say, like in a text or an email, you kind of lose the tone of voice. So sometimes things are too strong or not strong enough. If I just look at this sentence, why did you come to Japan? It feels a little bit too direct, which is weird because I think American English sometimes is has this reputation of we're very direct.
Yeah.
We ask that question, we want that answer, and there's no kind of tiptoeing around it. But it does sound a little too direct, a little too strong somehow. And again, the tone of voice is super, super important. If that's the first thing you say to me when you say, "Hi, what's your name?" "Oh, why did you come to Japan?" It sounds a
Yeah.
little angry, right?
Yeah. でも本当その通りだよね. It's like when you ask in the question, right? If I met you for the first time in Japan, I said, why did you come to Japan? でなんか急に言われると it almost feels like, like you're not supposed to be there, like you are definitely like an
Exactly.
outsider で、ここにはいてはいけない。なんでここにいるのみたいな感じで解釈されてしまうから、いきなりね、Why did you come to Japan? って言われたら、そこはもしかしたらね、何この人って思うかもしれないけど、いやいや、でもケリーが言ったみたいに、ちょっとこう話を始めて、で、ちょっとこう仲良くなって、で、その会話の中で、ちなみになんで日本に来たんですかっていう、as you're having a couple, you're talking about a couple different things and you kind of slide it in there. So yeah, Kelly, why did you come to Japan? That doesn't sound too bad, right? Yeah,
And that tsunami is really important, right?
yeah.
Because it's not just why did you come? It's oh hey, by the way, oh you were talking about this.
Mm,
I was wondering,
mhm,
why did you come to
mhm.
Japan? That makes it so much softer
Yeah,
and so much more like an answer that I won't get or a question that I won't get offended by. Like, oh,
yeah.
I'm not supposed to be in Japan? Is that why you're
So,
asking me?
am I not supposed to be here? Yeah, そう思っちゃうんだよね. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What are some other ways you can ask somebody the reason for them being in a certain location or at a certain event or something like that? 他の言い方ってある質問の仕方は。
Hmm. So, for example, one that almost sounds a little weird because it's not a common phrase, but I think maybe we can almost think of it as like a set phrase
う
as
ん、
an alternative. Is what brings you to Japan,
うん、
right? That what brings you is a little bit of an unusual structure and unusual grammar, but that what brings you here, what brings you to Japan sounds softer,
うん、
sounds less like angry,
うん。
sounds a little bit less direct. I
Yeah.
don't think I would use what brings you in other sentences,
あは。
right? What brings you to the supermarket today?
Yeah,
If it
yeah,
were like
yeah. あは。
weird question. But
Uh-huh.
it's a nice little alternative that sounds more like a question and not an accusation.
No, so I think I totally agree with you on that. Like when you say what brings you here っていうと, you kind of want to know about their story in a sense, right? Like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody has like their own story of,
Mhm.
you know, how they ended up in a certain location. Why
Mhm.
is kind of like you're looking for the explanation, but what brings you here っていうと、なんかその人のなんかやっぱストーリーをちょっと知りたい。今に至るまでの自分の国からこういうことがあって、で、結局これがあって、で、今こういうとこにいるんですよっていう、I feel like that's what that question brings out. And
Yeah.
that's why I like using that question too. Yeah.
Sure.
And, you know, one other thing, you know, this is what makes English really interesting and also really difficult at the same time is what brings you here? You know, I definitely use that and I've heard
Mhm.
people use it, but I've also heard people say, what brought you here? And so
Yeah.
instead of using the present tense, you know, you'll have like what
Mhm.
brought you here, or maybe the more proper way would be like what has brought you here. But この
Mhm.
bring と brought の違いは何ですかってたまに聞かれたことがあって、
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really know. I think it means exactly the
Right.
same, you know? Kelly, what brings you here? What brought you here? Is there a difference? Is that just, you know, American people speaking English and we're just terrible at grammar and we just say what's on our mind? What's your take on that?
Well, I do always say that native English speakers from anywhere and native speakers from any language, just because we know the correct grammar doesn't mean that we want to use it. So
Mhm.
maybe what has brought you here, that longer form of that verb,
Yeah.
native English speakers, we're a little lazy. We don't want to say long forms
Yeah.
of verbs. Like we make things shorter. We're a little bit
Yep.
lazy. So, I think brings versus brought versus has brought, it might be a very personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I might use all three of those and not even realize which one I picked and
Mm-hmm.
why. Very, very small difference between brings you here and brought you here. I mean, obviously, brought is past, right? So it almost sounds like the story is done,
Yeah.
right? You're not continuing the progress. Oh, well, I studied and I got a degree and I got on a plane and I came here and now it's done. I'm here. Hi. What
Yep.
brings you here sort of feels, and again, very small difference,
Uh-huh.
sort of feels like I think that journey is continuing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're here to study Japanese. So, yes, you studied, you did that, you came, but it's going to continue after this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
You're here for a purpose that keeps evolving. And that, again, is kind of why that longer story is invited with brings because it's
Yeah.
that present tense, right? Things are still happening, things are still changing.
Yeah. でもね、やっぱケリー先生が今言ったように、個人差は結構ありますよね。What brings you here っていう人もいれば、What brought you here っていう人もいますし、でもね、その細かなニュアンスで言うと、brought だとなんかもう一回終わって、で、なんかもう続きがないような響きがあるのが brought ね、過去形なので、but ね、brings を使う場合は、今でも何かがどんどん続いているっていう意味で、細かいニュアンスで言うと、there is that difference, but I think you put it the best way. アメリカ人もね、ネイティブの人かな、やっぱり自分の言語で喋るときは、you get a little bit lazy with certain, you know, speeches sometimes. And
Oh, yeah.
has をね、ちょっと省いて what brought you here とか、一番言いやすいのを、やっぱ会話の中で使うっていうのは、それが日本語でも英語でもね、やっぱりできるだけ略して短く言う方法。And I think that's what's happening here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed our video today. Don't forget, Kelly is an amazing tutor on Cafe Talk. All of her information is in the description below, or you can go to cafetalk.com and find her there. Kelly, thank you very much. Hope to see you again.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye, guys.